Why are events more essential than ever to brand marketing strategy?
I think physical events, when done right, are critical to branding your product or your service. You know, everything in life is, to me, distilled down to an experience. You can, this table is hard because I can feel it. So it's kind of, Descartesian in its premise, but I really believe in that you have to have some sort of touch point where you can interact with the product or service. Some of those things happen in private. I might be shopping, pick up something and think, oh, this is really cool, I'm going to pick it up and buy it. It can happen online, it can happen word of mouth, but there's something very unique about having a shared social experience that can really engender loyalty to a product, or at least trial to a product, where you might say, hey, you know what, I never thought about XYZ thing, but because I'm here, I'm having a good time, I'm meeting new people, I'm talking to new people, those positive reinforced experience can be transferred to the product. Events have become even more important because you're fighting for mind share. People aren't looking at print as much. They're not even online with the advertising that comes online. There's tons of studies about whether or not it really works and do people really click on stuff. And, I know when I open up a website and they have like a commercial or something, I just instantly like stop it. Or even ones I'm forced to watch on things like Hulu, when they have like a little button that's like, is this, applicable to you? I always click no. Like, because I'm trying to send a message that I don't want to see your ad at all. So events are a way of circumventing that. One can make the argument that they're kind of these big staged advertisements, but I think if you can reinforce something positive about the event, about the product, about what's going on, then it's different than a commercial or a traditional ad. I think the commercials that do work are ones that resonate something with us positively. So it's not just the noise of them. It's like, oh wow, I remember, Mean Joe Green throwing the jersey, to quote like, one of the most famous, commercials ever.
Thirsty.
Yeah, you kind of, those things kind of stick with us. And
That's right.
and I think events, when done well, have the same ability to do that. Where you remember, you're like, oh wow, I remember that was awesome. Like it was really great. And so the brand or brands attached to that automatically get some of that same positive attributes attached to them. A company that I think did a really good job of just placing an ad and attaching themselves to something, for example, was Mad Men with Clorox, where they had these commercials that, well, they ran during the show, then they ran online as well if you went to watch it on AMC. And it showed like a white shirt with lipstick on it, and then you see Clorox like cleaning the lipstick away, and it was like keeping admin safe for X number of years. And I was like, that was cool. Like it showed me as someone who loves the show and is very passionate about the show, that you understood what you're talking about. Like that whole thing was created to tie into a particular genre of work. It was very tongue-in-cheek. It made sense.
How is that relevant to an experience and to an event?
I think it showed, they understood what was going on. They understood my relationship as a viewer to the show. I think events have the ability to do that same thing. If the same care that Clorox took to kind of understand Mad Men as a program, the audience that's watching it and what they're going to respond to, I think the same care needs to be done with events, where you understand, okay, this is who you're trying to reach, this is how I'm going to reach them, and this is going to be the end result. So one of our clients is Jaguar. We did an event with them this past June when we launched their XJ. So we were able to identify, what was important to Jaguar, exposing a New York audience, because it was their New York launch, to this brand new flagship sedan. After years of having touch and go success with different cars, this was going to be the one that put them back on the map and highly rated and a great car. So we found a great venue, Classic Car Club, where we knew our audience, to kind of speak to that curatorial point, some of the indigenous audience of Classic Car Club coupled with, Free DMC's audience would actually be people who are going to want to find out about the new XJ. Mm-hmm. They're going to have the ability to access the car. They're going to have the ability to potentially buy the car. So it makes sense where everyone's happy. Then there's a secondary touch point, which was developing what are called ride and drives. Mm-hmm. Basically having people actually go out to a track in Monticello mm-hmm. and drive the new car. Mm-hmm. So they're getting now an event that introduces them and an event that allows them to test, touch, feel, move around the actual car, which hopefully leads to, buying the car or leasing the car or whatever. So those are kind of things that built on one another, mm-hmm. Where it makes sense. Mm-hmm. So the client's happy, we're happy, everybody's happy because they're getting something that fits. Mm-hmm. So the same care we took into planning that, finding the venue and building it all out is the same care that should be going on all the time. Yep. But oftentimes it kind of misses the mark.
Yeah, it makes me think about, probably my favorite kind of integrated brand experience in the last year was running the marathon last year. There's a staging area right there by the Verrazano Bridge where you start the race. Mm-hmm. And before you get to the start line, you can put your stuff in a bag and hand it off to what is a row of dozens upon dozens of UPS trucks, organized in a military fashion. And you're handing off your most important belongings, on one of the most important days of your life to UPS, and they're there for you at the front end of the race, and at the end, after you've accomplished, the big 26.2, first thing you see with your little baggie and your little Gatorade is this long line of UPS trucks where they're there for you delivering, the package.
If they were good enough to handle that day, with like you said, all the chaos and madness, and it's your keys, it's your ID, it's your most important stuff, and they got it from point A to point B, I think you can trust them with your documents or whatever else. Where maybe if you have to make a decision, UPS or DHL or FedEx, you're kind of like, well, they weren't at the marathon when I needed them, UPS was, so I'm going to go with UPS, all things being considered, and it doesn't have to happen for every person in order for it to be true. Right. We're dealing in marketplaces, particularly with mature businesses where, the margins are slim. Right. You're not going to get 40%, 50% growth year over year. Like, these are mature businesses oftentimes. Those marginal bits of people sticking in there and being brand loyal are critical. You can pick up 1%, 2%. That's all you're going to get anyway. That's right. It makes a real difference to impact people and be thoughtful about what it is that you do. Yeah. And treat them with respect.